Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Acupuncture is My Life. Now, in this episode, I want to discuss the fact that there are certain foods that can trigger or even intensify your migraines. And many of you guys out there are totally unaware of this. And this is as a result of a new patient that came in. We had a consultation session, and she'd explained to me she's been suffering from migraines since 8 years of age, where she's now in her 50s. And of course, she asked if I can do a podcast discussing that, because she has many friends and relatives that are unaware that acupuncturists conduct Eastern nutrition consultation, or it's a part of their intake. And I said, sure. So this is why I'm getting specific without really getting too specific, if that makes any sense. Because there are certain laws that protect the patient, even if they do give consent to discuss their case. So I'm really keeping it surface level to say as to why I decided to do this episode. But yes, and I do get that a lot from many new patients who come into the Acupuncture is My Life clinic here in New York City, and they've been suffering from migraines regardless of how long. Some I've made aware that it has a lot to do with the foods in which they're eating. And many are surprised. So I agreed with this last patient to do this episode. But yes, there are. Foods are meant to be eaten as medicine. And if you don't take that serious, then you'll end up eating medicine as food. And you don't want that. Okay? But I'll say this. Living with migraines can be difficult. And especially when you're not aware that certain foods can actually make it worse. And without knowing which foods can trigger your headache, can be a huge problem, because then you're left in the abyss as to what the heck is going on? Why does this happen? Why is this still happening to me? And I've been to my doctor, my physician, and it's still happening. But there are many individuals who've elected to see or decided to see an acupuncturist and make acupuncture part of their life, to only find out the foods that tend to trigger those headaches, and having removed them from their life, their diet, made their symptoms more manageable. Okay, it allowed for them to make better choices, because the migraine, although the foods may trigger it, can in some cases still just be the symptom, that to an acupuncturist being the branch. What is the root? Could the root cause be the food? Or could the food be secondary to something else, where the actual symptom being migraines is tertiary? This is important. But for now, I want to go over certain foods that you should think about if you suffer from migraines. Could it be that playing a part? And if you really want to gain confidence in understanding how foods can trigger migraines, you can just go to acupuncturesmylife.com and schedule a virtual consultation session with me to discuss this further. Okay, and I have to say this. Virtual means online, via Zoom or Google Meet or whatever. I've had individuals schedule virtual consultation sessions with me and feel that meant to show up at my clinic for for consultation, and that's not the case. It's an online consultation session. I just wanted to clarify that. You just go to acupuncturesmylife.com, and there's a tab, virtual consultation. Go there, look at the calendar, and schedule your date and time. Now, with regard to foods, there are quite a bit of foods that can trigger migraine headaches. But I'll just go over a few. And one is aged cheese. Okay. And when I say aged cheese, I mean like blue cheese, Parmesan cheese, cheddar cheese. Those forms of cheeses tend to contain tyramine, which can trigger migraines in some people. And this compound, tyramine, tends to form when proteins in cheese starts to break down over time. And the longer the cheese is aged, the higher the tyramine content. All right, keep that in mind. Now, another food is chocolate. Now, chocolate tends to be a common migraine trigger due to the caffeine and other compounds that's in it. Because the substances that are in chocolate can cause blood vessel changes that can lead to headaches. And also keep in mind, chocolate tends to contain sugar that can cause a spike and then a sudden drop in blood glucose levels, which can potentially lead to migraines as well. So it's important that you're aware of this. And sticking with caffeine, since some chocolate has caffeine. Caffeine has been known to, yes, relieve headaches for some, but it can also trigger migraines in others, especially when you drink too much of it in the form of coffee. Why? Because caffeine affects blood flow to the brain, and it can cause withdrawal headaches when you reduce intake suddenly. And when you consume caffeine, especially in coffee, too much, it can lead to dependency, which will make your brain more susceptible to migraines when your caffeine levels drop. This is why I'm always saying drink herbal teas. Herbal teas are the best. They're awesome. And if you want to find out, again, which herbal tea is best for you, go to acupuncturesmylife.com, set up a virtual consultation session with me, and we can discuss it based on your constitution. But another food is alcohol. And these really, to me, it's really not food, but we'll just stick with the title, food. Especially red wine. And many of you women out there, you're going to be upset with me for saying this, but especially red wine. Red wine is well known for triggering migraine headaches. Why? Because it contains histamine as well as tyramine, which both can cause headaches. And red wine also contains tannins, which tends to release or tends to stimulate the release of serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter that is involved in the development of migraines. And also keep this in mind, and I say this a lot, alcohol tends to dehydrate the body, which is another migraine trigger. This is why when patients come in, especially new patients come into the Acupuncture's My Life clinic in New York City, I inquire as to how much water they drink on a daily basis. Because remaining hydrated is so important for many reasons, not just migraine headaches. But another trigger is MSG. And many individuals love eating Chinese food, especially here in America. And a lot of Chinese foods, along with other foods, tend to have a lot of MSG in it, which is a flavor enhancer. And you usually find MSG in processed foods, as well as Chinese cuisine, canned vegetables. And it's been known to cause headaches as well as other symptoms in individuals that's sensitive to MSG. Because MSG tends to increase glutamate levels in your brain, which can potentially lead to a migraine attack, which is this. See, guys, this is why I'm always telling you health is wealth. You know, and the fact that the wealth is not in your bank account of any sort, retirement, investment, checking, savings, whatever, it's not. The wealth is not in your pocket, purse, or wallet. And the wealth is definitely not under your mattress, not under the doghouse in the backyard, nor is it in the shoebox or sock in the closet. The wealth is in you. That's where it is. All right? But you also want to look to avoid processed meats. And when I say that, I'm talking about sausages, deli meats, hot dogs, loaded with nitrates and nitrites, which have the ability to trigger migraines. And these chemicals tend to be used to enhance the color of the so-called meat, the flavor, but it can also dilate blood vessels in the brain as well. And don't forget, processed meats tend to contain high levels of sodium, which can lead to, again, dehydration and trigger migraine headaches. Another many of you are going to get upset about is artificial sweeteners. Stay away from artificial sweeteners, especially if you drink herbal teas. If you need a light sweetener, raw organic honey is the best way to go. But you want to avoid artificial sweeteners with an emphasis on aspartame. And usually find aspartame in diet sodas or sugar-free products or foods that are to be considered low calorie. And aspartame has been linked to migraines in some individuals due to its effect on neurotransmitters. So avoid artificial sweeteners. Avoid smoked fish, such as lox. What else? What's another? Kippers. Many of you don't know what kippers are, but lox, because they contain high levels of tyramine, which is a migraine trigger. What else? I'm trying to think. Yeast extract. Yeast extract should be avoided. Citrus fruits can trigger migraines, like lemons, grapefruits, oranges. You know, I've had patients that were unaware of that, and they love oranges and lemons, and some would eat grapefruits for breakfast and didn't pay attention. A short time afterwards, a migraine headache would set in. Why? Because citrus fruits have high levels of histamine, which can cause migraine headaches. You know, the acidity in citrus fruits can affect a person's pH balance, potentially leading to migraines. Okay, so it's important that you keep these things in mind. And it's important that you make acupuncture a part of your life. Why? Because acupuncture is my life. What's yours?